Well, 2025 is finally over, but maybe this next year will be better. And to help us get started towards that, I made a post on my Blue Sky reaching out my tendrils towards a bunch of TTRPG devs to see what they, alongside a few others I know, are cooking up. So without further ado, here's some upcoming TTRPGs of 2026. Alright, just some ground rules for this video. There's no particular order, nor is this a tiered list in any way. Except for this first one, which I'm covering first, as their previous game was the first I ever covered on this channel, and it felt like a fitting place to start. Yes, Free Sale Studios are at it again with their upcoming game, Gallows Corner, a Peasants' Revolt RPG. The year is 1376, 5 years before the Peasants' Revolt. Half of England's people are dead from plague. You are a peasant among those who remain, and you aren't happy. Yeah, this is a fitting game to mention in 2026, to say the very least. Described as a rules-light narrative-first system, Gallows Corner has you take on the roles of peasants and members of the working class, coming together to overthrow the ruling class and make England a better place. Featuring 48 options for character creation, 8 different trades, each comprising 6 different jobs, each character will be nice and diverse in a grounded reality without the magic of fantasy worlds or tech of sci-fi settings. They currently have a pre-release available now, which will be linked down below. Our next game is once more being published by Free Sale Studio, but created by the Neon Caster. City of Espers, a game about being part of a found family of psychics, competing in psychic-powered sports battles and making your mark on the city. The game makes use of a diceless system, instead making use of a standard deck of playing cards, making use of hands and plays to achieve your aims of strategy, knowing when to play them, when to hold them, and unleashing chaos on the streets of Zena City. I very much like the look of the house creation system the game offers. As a sucker for home bases, these are always going to appeal to me, especially when they tie into other mechanics. I also really enjoy its turf system, where the amount of area your team controls will grow as you progress, with all the benefits and issues it may bring. Returning to fantasy with some lovely whimsy, our next game is Children with Wands, created by, and apologies if I mess up the pronunciation of the last name, Joe Chiara, or GM Joe. Children with Wands is a game with the players taking on the roles of kids coming into their own with their newfound magic. And the magic casting system in this game is very fun and interesting. You make use of a d20 with each spell having an ideal success number, so it's not just about rolling higher, it's about rolling as close as you can to a set number, with how close you need to be affected by how suited the spell is for the current task. In other words, you're rewarded for solving the puzzles of the problem you face with an appropriate solution. Definitely a game for all ages to enjoy. And now for a game that captures even more of my hyperfixations, Journeymon, a monster tamer TTRPG. Created by Imogen Gingell, Journey has the players take on the roles of various types of monster tamers, going on a journey through a whimsical world of monsters. Taking advantage of its inspiration, session structure in Journeymon is designed for each session to resemble an episode of a show, small interconnected stories all leading to a thrilling climax. What helps this is the zero prep design, where the events can be easily randomized at the beginning and throughout the session, making it nice and easy to pick up and play at a moment's notice. Featuring tactical battles, making use of your monster's abilities and typings, this is absolutely up the alley of any creature collectors. Another returner from prior videos, we have the final entry in the Cyberats trilogy, Cyberats in Space. Yep, Alex Reinhardt is back with more Cyberats, this time taking things to the final frontiers, being sent on generational ships to this time get revenge on those who destroyed the Earth. Or are you? Building further on the prior mechanics of the prior Cyberrat games, this entry is standalone but fully backwards compatible with them. Basically, if you want more freaky rats, I'd defo check this out. For my horror fans, we have The Devil Jonas Leviathan by Ryan Brown. This game has players take on the role of folks swallowed by the Great Leviathan and attempt to escape its dark depths, whilst keeping their souls intact, which means you'll be facing countless horrors that shake you to your core. Now, there's an OG version of this originally created for a game jam available on itch, but the new updated version will be released in April, and I remember to add the link to it when it launches then. And now one that kinda came out of nowhere but immediately hit me in my autistic little heart, Godzilla the role-playing game. Yes, IDW Games in 2026 will be launching a Kickstarter for the official Godzilla tabletop game, and I'm just super excited about it. We don't know a huge amount about the game yet, but we do know it makes use of a card-based system as opposed to dice. I'll leave a link to the Games Radar article that announced the system below, but this is obviously something I'll be covering down the line. We then move back to indie with Null Space from Binary Star Games. Null Space has you taking the role of what's no longer considered a person. In the 24th century, abandoned by the world, you now make your way to survival in the Null Space, the gaps between colonies. This isn't a game about combat, it's one of survival, making use of what you have and what you know to make your way through this unfortunate situation. For this last part of the video, I'll be rapid firing some games that I don't have a huge amount of information to work with, but might just perk the ears of some of you out there. We have Ex Umbra, a playable dungeon generator, where players come together to make their own dungeons full of, well, that's for you to decide. Escape the Apocalypse, a card-based game where you and your players make your way through various different apocalypse. Legacy First Flight, a space opera TTRPG by The Last Omtech, with more information on all these games coming later this year. And Hardwired Island's Second Gig, the next sourcebook from Weird Age Games, a retro-future cyberpunk TTRPG, with all new options and adventures in store, and yes, I will be covering the first part this year. And I know there's plenty more games out there that I missed, so feel free to tell me more about them below. Anything here you're excited for? Tell me about that below too. And now for the first video of the year kind of vulnerable moment, in lieu of a conclusion. This channel has been fantastic and a wonderful creative outlet for me, and I'm really excited to continue it. But this video was supposed to be out by the end of last year, and it's clearly a lot shorter than my usual videos, and that's because frankly, this world has been a nightmare to be a creative in, and the start of it really did make this creation hard. I'm going to keep going with it regardless, and I'll be back to my usual video length and depth moving forward, but again, it is a nightmare year. I'm going off script for a bit. Yeah, just an absolute nightmare. But I do want to ask you all this. Keep your whimsy, don't hide from reality, and act accordingly. Escapism is a delicate balance. You can't completely lose yourself when there's real world things we need to work on. I'm being vague because this is YouTube, but I think you understand what I'm hinting at. But above all, be safe, look out for one another, and I'll see you in my next video. I've been Deval, and happy adventuring.